Hello, everybody. Sean Zalmanoff here with this edition of Next Level Loan Officers Podcast, and I am joined by Marc Demetriou. Marc, how are you, sir?
Fantastic. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, man. So Marc is a 14-year industry veteran and a few other careers in his life before that. But, man, one of the most remarkable things that maybe two people who listen to this podcast and 0.001% of our industry can say, since Marc has been in the mortgage business for the last 14 years, he has been at the same company those 14 years. I'm just about to have my 10-year anniversary, but I had a few places I stopped along the way. And you've been at the same company for 14 years, Marc. That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know that's definitely a rarity. All the companies out there trying to steal me away are always like, want to have that feather in their cap.
I want to take that guy.
Yeah, right.
So you've been doing this for 14 years. Your last 10 years, President's Club at your company, and it's just it's been a good ride for you, to say the least. Tell us. I mean, there's a couple key things that we were discussing before we hit record here, and you were mentioning just about client service and that level of service that you provide and getting to that lead. Man, tell me a little bit. Well, actually, first, before you get into this, just tell me a little bit about your evolution. How did you get in the mortgage business, and how did you get to this point to being such a dominant force for the last decade?
So my background's in finance. I graduated finance from college, and I've basically been in financial service-related businesses all along the way. My last business, I was a chief operating officer of a financial company. And when I got bought out from there, I was thinking about the areas I wanted to go into. Could have went to financial planning, another C-level position, insurances, a lot of different areas. But the reason the light bulb went off for me in 2005 is because I realized with my expertise and knowledge and my background, reputation, and everything else that goes into it, so I found the mortgage industry as like that light bulb to say, if I bring my package to the mortgage industry, I think I'll kill it, because I know I'm different than most out there right now currently. And with my reputation again and background, I was going to go in that space and just never look back. And that's what happened. So that was kind of the light bulb, which was awesome. And, aligning with the company with now, Residential Home Funding, I was able to, open a branch, open the second branch. So kind of really have my own little silo working together with them and just do my own thing, which is great in a way, So that's how I got into the business. So it's one of those things I kind of took the time to figure out what industry niche would be best where I could bring my expertise and knowledge and really do well, really what happened.
Awesome. Knowing who you are in this business and who you are in your life and what your skill set is a masterful thing that if more people would do themselves the service of really figuring out for themselves, they can be in a position like you're in. So right. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you.
Good work.
Well, you got to listen, just like anything else, you got to know your talents and know what industry works best for you. And not only that, what the profit potential, income potential, can you make the money? Because if you're a great salesman, you sell widgets at 1 cent a pop for yourself, that's not a good industry for you, because the upside may not be what you want. I never worry about making money, but knowing that money's there if you want to be able to proceed and do well. So yeah, right on.
So just so you all know who are listening, Marc's spoken at Mastermind before. He's been named one of the top most influential people in the mortgage industry, and maybe soon to come speak at one of our Next Level Live Loan Officer events too. So we'll have to see how that works out for us as well.
Sure.
Marc, so there's some things that you do differently than a lot of loan officers. And man, it doesn't sound like it's rocket science. It's amazing when you do consistent things well,
right.
How your business can grow. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing to separate yourself and just crush it.
Right. Thank you for all that. So basically, listen, in this business, you have, I have 100 banks all within 15 miles of where I am, thousands of loan officers. Why do people come to me when they can go somewhere else? So what separates one from another really starts with service. And it comes down to, from the first phone call to the closing, even that post-closing call, it's that experience that they have with you to know that, wow, that was an unbelievable process, so that they'll always want to come back, or they'll be happy to refer people. What I mentioned before the show started was that every loan that closes, statistically, they're worth, that closed loan is worth 5 more loans in their lifetime, whether they come back to you themselves or they refer the people. So if you think about the magnitude of that, as every happy client, you'll get 5 more loans through the lifetime of knowing that person. So as you build your business, I think I've closed 4,000 loans in the last 14 years. So think about the power of those that client base as my sales force. And not only that, the referral sources, because I make sure the referral sources know how happy the clients were, so they'll always continue to send business. So that's kind of like the whole way it keeps rolling through. So you never really stop running out of leads in a good way.
So what do you do? So you were mentioning, man, you were on a beach one time and you were late to get back to, or it took 20 minutes for your team to get back to somebody, and client said they went somewhere else. So,
Well, actually, it was, yeah, I paraphrased. I would paraphrase that because I know I talked about it quickly. But so what I said is that in the 14 years, I can count one time when I had a client call, a prospect call here, and literally like I called like 20 minutes later. They called in, they were looking for a mortgage, whatever. I called back. And by the time I called back, literally, I'm telling you, it was 20 minutes. They said, oh, I went somewhere else already. I'm like, you just called 20 minutes ago. Oh, yeah, but I called a couple of people and that person got back to me quicker, so I'm just going to go with them. And so I said, that never happens again, because when a lead comes in, my staff knows if I'm not in the office, they text me immediately. They tell the client, Mark's going to get back to you within an hour or so. I get the text wherever I am. And I was on the beach actually in Greece one time, and I got a text and I called the client, and they didn't know I was on the beach in Greece at the time, but I told them once we closed the loan where I was when they first called. But it's that ability to know when that lead comes in, how powerful that person is. Because I don't care if it's a $50,000 loan or a $10 million loan. It's that person, that opportunity to make this person happy, make the referral source happy. So you got to solidify that quickly. So anyway, by the way, that person ended up coming back to me, believe it or not, because they weren't happy with the service they were getting. So they ended up coming back, which was just awesome. So yeah, so that's the other part I didn't tell you before.
So tell me now, when you're on the beach in Greece, you got a loan partner who answers that phone and you don't have to, right?
Yeah. So basically, well, what happens, I mean, there's people in the office that are licensed and they'll talk to the client, make it feel a little comfortable. But I like to be the one to sell the client in two ways. To be a great loan officer, to be able to do big volume, you have to have a great team. So for me, I love actually saying hello to the person, whether it's that first call within the first day. I want to be the one to say, hey, hi, thanks for calling my office. Really appreciate it. You know, I know my staff's already talked to you. Well, hey, what are you looking to do? Looking to buy or refinance? Great. We're going to send you a secure portal, fill it out, send it back in. My staff will review it, and then I'll give you a call back and give you an idea what the rate is. So I kind of have it set up where I like to do the hello. They do all that stuff. Then I'll be the one to call back and sell the rate. And I could be anywhere in the world doing that. Hey, listen, 3.5, 30-year fix, looks great. Everything's good. Your credit's good. How's that sound? Sounds great. And then I'm done. So like the right way as a top producer is have that hello. So you get the contact, sell the rate. And not everybody works this way. This is the way I like to work. Sell the rate. And then the next time I talk to the client is when their loan's approved, I do like to call personally and congratulate them. And that's a good time to ask for more referrals, by the way, once they're happy their loan's approved. And then when the loan closes, I don't always go to my closings. It's not my thing. I just don't go to a lot of them. A lot of people do. But then after the loan closes, the next day I'll call them and I'll say, how was the closing? Any questions, any concerns? Everything went well? Just for that extra customer service to really hammer it there. So that's where I get my touches in. And I say, by the way, keep in mind, we're licensed in, so many states. And if you or anyone needs our services, we're here for you. But thanks again. And by the way, don't forget to fill out the survey when it comes. So like I'll get my touches in and I'm done. And then I usually ask them to, if you haven't spoke to Joe or Sally who referred you, make sure let them know that you're happy since you're telling me you're happy with our services. So I kind of do my touches, and then everything else is kind of just sales and marketing related stuff that I'm doing, and not operational stuff,
So what's your team look like right now? What are you going to close here in 2019?
So the goal is, I have a lot of things I'm doing too. So my best years were 75 million, 2 years in a row.
Okay.
Which is pretty good, I guess. And
so that's pretty good. Yeah, you have to say.
Yeah. 50 to 60 is probably a general year for me. A year like this should be 50, 60 because it's a good refi year too as well. But I have my book that came out a year and a half ago, and I do a lot more speaking now. So as much as just being grinding back in the 09, 10, 11 years to 100% mortgage, I kind of have other things I'm working on right now, which is exciting as well. So that's probably the reason I won't hit 75 million, but that's fine.
So tell me about the beginning years. So you got into this business in 2005. The market was really still phenomenal for a short time.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't.
Right.
And so how did you weather those years? With all your track record and the things you did before, it would have been easy for you to go back and manage another company or do something else, but you decided to stick in the mortgage business. Now, like, what were the bad times? What were they like? And, or did you have bad times? Was it all
Yeah,
just
so a very, very good point to touch on. So I started August of '05. So I got the branch up and running, had some people hired and, processor, stuff like that. So by January, I kind of started producing. So I was kind of always a producing branch manager.
Okay.
So I had 2 loan officers, a processor, an assistant, and then right from the beginning, just getting everything up and running. And by January, I started producing, and I was actually the number 1 in the company in the first year of 16 already. I just cranked it out again because I have a lot of contacts, a lot of CPAs, a lot of realtors, attorneys. So I knew a lot of people. So knowing that my reputation was there, they just came to me for the business. So those years, 6, 7, 8, 8 was the rough year with the crash. But what happened was, because my clientele was a better clientele, like let's say professional clientele, during the refi booms, I was killing it because all my clientele was like just coming to me. I wasn't dealing with a lot of the no doc loans and a lot of all that craziness. So all my people in my world were all the good borrowers who were like, hey, rates are 6%. Now they're 5, let's refi. Oh, now they're 4, let's refi. Oh, now they're 3. So it's kind of like I was just killing it in that space. And as these rates were dropping, everyone was talking about it. And I'm out speaking a lot and networking. So it's just, it's just the way it worked out. So it was really great years. I never really had down years. The worst year, honestly, I think 2013, I'm not mistaken, was a bad year, I think, for everybody. I think rates went up again at that point. And then 17, I think, was it 8? No, last year was a little lower year, I think, too.
Last year was difficult.
Yeah. So those were my 2 worst years.
It was June of 2013, the first Friday in June, the May jobs number came out.
Yeah.
It was like a couple $100,000 higher than what they thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And the Fed said they were going to reduce the amount of QE.
Right.
Rates in like 3 days went up like a point.
Yeah. 13 was my worst year ever. I think I did like 38 million personally. And then 18, I think I did 42 million last year. But again, my book came out. I spent 35 to 40% of my life doing my book and speaking towards a lot of crap. So that was why it was only like 42 million or something.
I remember those 10, 11 years too. Like I had a clientele that was similar to yours and did very few, no doc or those kind of loans. And home prices in Missouri, although, St. Louis, we went down, the values were still there for people to refinance. And I just remember people telling me, they were crazy years as far as just the amount of loans and profitability that we were doing at that time. And people would be like, man, Sean, how was it? I'm like, well, it could always be better, but like it's good right now. I didn't want to be like, I felt bad saying I'm making more money than I've ever have in my life.
Crazy.
And yeah, fortunately it's gotten a little better since then as well too, but those were great years.
Yeah.
So tell me more about your process. Like, you've networked, you got people who love you, you have loyal fans. These are all things that if a mortgage person wants to succeed, and especially in 2019, if they want to beat the phone that these apps and Quicken and these other lenders who are trying to replace us and take us out of the market. Mark, I feel in 10 years from now, I know in 10 years from now, if you want to still be in this industry, you're going to be in this industry. What are you doing to insulate? Like, you talked about your touches, the several the key points that you do throughout the process to be in front of the client. But man, if you're talking to a loan officer right now, they're doing 3 or 4 loans a month. They're doing 5. They're doing 10 loans a month, but they want to take it to the next level. What would you tell them to do and copy out of your system that'd get them there?
Yeah. So the biggest mistake is, people think they don't need to be out, like networking and speaking and breakfast, lunch, dinners. My life right now, I have a business that operationally runs well. So I'm all about sales and marketing, but like, if people think you just sit in their office and leads come in, it doesn't happen. So cocktail parties, lunches, out with people, speaking at events, getting together people, always talking about the mortgage rates. It's one of the things I always do. When I ask people, hey, hi, what do you do? How are you? Good. I let them always talk first about themselves, what they're doing. Great. That sounds awesome. Maybe I can help you. I know some people in that area. And they say, what do you do? I say, well, I'm in the mortgage business and rates are great right now. 3.5, 30-year fixed and 15s and low 3s. Like, I just kind of say that. Oh, really? Oh, really? I didn't know they're that low, because most people don't even know what rates are. Mm-hmm. So like I kind of always lead with that conversation, just like kind of nonchalant. But there's little tricks to the trade. I sponsor events. I'm not embarrassed to go to tabletop events and sponsor things. Even that's not beneath me. Nothing's beneath me. So I think the point is you need to be out strategically. My time is so precious, and I tell everybody that's listening, you look at your time as worth $1 million a minute. And everything you touch during your day, is it the highest and best use of your time? And is it what you should be doing with your expertise? So I'm all about that, So when I look at my time to make it as effective as possible is what am I doing to handle my client, my business, and bring in more business. You got to constantly be marketing, constantly be out there. So, advertising a little bit, advertising your church newsletter, advertising, the Chamber of Commerce, like have your face in front of people. You may not be getting calls from them, but they're seeing your face, So you kind of got to hit all these things. And if you do these things strategically, like 14 years now, I'm kind of on cruise control. Like I know what to do. I know what works. The refi boom was when you just kind of tackle the old clients, and that's great, But in a year like 18, you kind of got to just be out there doing your thing,
That's a nice bonus that we're all getting right now with the refis.
Oh, it's awesome. This is the hard years of work that you've done in the past with all great clients. This is when it pays off, when you can just start attacking the clients. And I'm telling you, whoever's listening, clients have no idea what rates are. So when you call someone up that has 4.5 or 4.75 from 18, say, hey, listen, we could drop you a whole point, if not more. Oh, really? Yeah. Here's the numbers. Here's what you could save. Here's a break even on it. Makes sense, right? I mean, so you could just attack those. So it's different now than like 18. 18 was a whole different animal. Rates being the high 4s all year.
It is, Mark. You speak so much of our language at Next Level. There's a class that we teach called the Celebrity Expert Authority. And man, you are that guy in your world.
Okay. Well, thank you.
It's perfect. And the other thing too, like, knowing your numbers, everybody needs to know. I mean, Mark said it great. I mean, pretend your time's worth $1 million an hour, but guys,
$1 million a
minute. So we teach it a little bit different than that, but you're speaking my language. Like, you need to know what your numbers are. If you want to make $250,000 a year, if you want to make $500,000 a year, you need to divide that into a 40-hour work week, divide that into 48 or so weeks a year that you're working, and you didn't know that number. And if you're doing activities that are not $200, $300 an hour activities, you're killing yourself. And you're really doing a disservice to you and everybody else on your team. You've got to know your numbers, and you hire those people.
Right.
You put other loan partners, you put processes in place, take all that work off your plate, which is what you've done with your few strategic points that you get to talk to a client at this point.
Right. And I thank you for that. And I think, and the idea of the 40 hours, which I'll get back to in a second. So I'm a guy, I was on 8 weeks of vacations last year, by the way, 8 weeks. Now, between speaking events or masterminds or Mortgage Revolution or different, I wanted competing events, but I was at different events. Your event's great too, by the way. Haven't spoken yet, but I will.
So we support everybody who's trying to make the industry better.
Good. From whatever you're saying, your event's awesome, but I will speak there. But yeah, so being out, right? So still didn't affect my volume per se. But I think the goal is that when you look at, the business that we have right now, right, and the way we are, the 40 hours during the week, like there's a difference between like 40 hours and then it's the morning and night. Like I was in 6:45 this morning, 6:45 yesterday to get all my stuff cranking, some marketing stuff, some emails out, like get things going. Because when right now with the refi boom, like I want to be in the office as much as I can right now because I'm cranking out through business. Like I don't mind being here now when it's this busy. But 40 hours is just enough to get the basic day done. Like after hours and before is where you're doing the follow-up and setting up meetings and setting up other things you're doing or speaking events or attending things. So it's like, it's not something you can do only 40 hours and you know that.
Well, especially right now in 2019, like we have a series of events that are going on that, will maybe happen in another 10 or 15 years. But, usually when rates are low, I mean, there's been some kind of economic turmoil for them to take a dip, and maybe there will be, and there's a lot of people who think we're heading into a recession very soon and that rates might even be in the high 2s at some point in the near future. But this is the time, if we have it as loan officers, and if you can work 50 hours a week and close 5 more loans, 6 more loans, do it. I mean, this is the time behind me. Our number one principle in Next Level is do the work. This is the time where the iron's hot, but we haven't had a time like this where home prices are at the point that they're at, rates are as low as they are, and people have equity like they do. I mean, we were doing loans at the end of last year, and I don't know, rates were
4 7 8 4 3/4, yeah, high 4s.
We were taking people who had amassed equity over the last 5 years and taking them out of a 3 1/4 rate, putting them into a 4 1/4 rate, showing them how they were going to pay off their house actually 7 years sooner, but take a 30-year loan, pay that thing off in 15 years, 7 years sooner, 10 years sooner than the current mortgage was, by just being a true advisor and getting that equity to work for them inside of their house. And so there's so much opportunity for us as loan officers right now. And there were a lot of LOs in January and February who were about ready to jump off the cliff. How times change. Like, oh man, it's been tough. It was a bad winter. It was this, it was that. do the work now, put the hours in while you can, because you're going to kick yourself in the butt. And at some point in the next year or two, when all of a sudden business slows down again, and there were hundreds of deals or dozens of deals that you could have closed.
You know what it is? Right on. You're right on. All that stuff's awesome. You know, and just to think about this, like, so for me, like I said, it's just, I want to be able to get through all my people that I could possibly refi before these rates go back up. So in my mind, it's like, I wish I didn't have to sleep because I want to get to everybody. Like, I got people, you know, the ones that are 4 3/4, those are easy. Drop them a rate, 30-year, 20-year, even lower. But like when you got 4 1/4, 4 3/8, may not make sense to refi to a 30, let's say, but you could take them to a 20 and show them how, listen, your payment may not go down, but you're going to knock off 8 years or 9 years or 10 years off your mortgage. This makes sense. Like, it's all that conversation. And in this business, I call it the art of persuasion, but in an expertise way. You're guiding them as an expert to say, here's the numbers, here's how it works. Simple, quick, and easy statements, and then followed up by an email. Here's your rate, here's your payment now, here's your payment go to, here's your savings, here's your break even on it. So like, it becomes a no-brainer, like, okay, yes, let's do it. And that's the part, it takes time right now where do the work, but you put that time in now and you're cranking out, you know, millions of dollars in business. It's awesome.
Yeah. So for you loan officers listening right now, something else that we're doing is, you know, a lot of times right now with rates, I mean, we're selling an eighth higher or a quarter higher because we're crediting some money and paying for some closing costs right now, because I believe, and many people in the industry believe that rates are headed significantly lower. And there's a good chance that a lot of people that we're refinancing right now, we're going to refinance them again in a year. And so by reducing costs and eliminating them completely in some instances, we're putting them in that position to set them up for the most success possible. And you were just talking about being persuasive, man, but Mark, it's not being persuasive. It's just being an advisor. And if you got somebody who's at a 4 1/4 and doesn't make sense right now, well, just let them know that here's where rates are probably headed. I got you. I'm looking at it for you. And by the way, as soon as we hit X, we're going to be ready to pull the trigger for you. And it's a fantastic time to ask those people who already know, like, and trust you, what other business, who else they can refer you at that time.
Right.
Still a very worthwhile phone call.
So you're guiding the client with your expertise and knowledge into what needs to be done because it's the right thing to do. When you're speaking from the heart and doing the right thing, right? So it's the art of persuasion and guidance through your expertise to say, this is what makes sense. This is what we should do. And here's the number. So it is the art of persuasion, but not in a crooked way, a good way, with the expertise way, with the numbers speak for themselves. That's what I mean. So right on the money. Awesome.
Mark, you've given our guest a lot of knowledge. I appreciate it. Or giving our listeners a lot of knowledge. I appreciate you today. Is there anything else that young or old, as far as a loan officer is in the industry, you want to make sure and impart on them before we end our conversation today?
To separate yourself from the pack, you have to be perceived by your peers, people in the industry, and potential clients or referral sources as an expert in your business. Conduct yourself that way, carry yourself that way, impress your clients and anybody that calls you with a speedy response that makes them feel special. So wherever you are, you know, when I'm out of the office, I said, I get that text right away. Hey, Joan, so-and-so called looking for a mortgage. I want to call that person. That's priority to me, priority. So you want to make sure to prioritize these people to make them feel special. Don't make them wait hours or 24 hours. So it's that initial response and then the process through the whole way. Having the right staff, smile on the voice. I mean, all this matters. So I gave them a couple things to think about, but there you go. I can go on for another hour, but we'll keep it there.
We both could easily carry this conversation on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Mark. Hey, everybody listening, we have some events coming up. If you text the words next level, there's one word, to the text code 36260, you'll be able to download our app. You'll be able to listen to Mark and my podcast again and many other podcasts on there and see what we have going on inside the Next Level. Mark, I appreciate you. Our listeners, we appreciate you all. Have a great day.
You're a good man. I'm going to plug one more thing before you cut me off. I forgot to mention my book, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah. How do people get a copy of this?
Yeah. We got to put that in the write-up somewhere. So the book's basically called Lessons from My Grandfather, Wisdom for Success in Business and Life. And basically, grandfatherlessons.com is the website for the book. The book is available on Amazon and many other sites, but it's won 4 awards, and Barbara Corcoran endorsed the cover, so it's really kicked ass. But it's really where I share a lot of this insight and knowledge about how to be successful, what my grandfather taught me, what led me to success. So people can go on and take a look that way. And my Instagram is, just Marc Demetriou if they want to follow me there, and other places. So it's all good stuff. I like to give that information because I wrote it for a reason, to share my knowledge and wealth of knowledge with people.
If you buy that book and read that book, and don't gain more deals out of that and don't gain more influence, it's not Marc's fault.
I'll refund you the money. I'll refund you the $19.99 for the book.
I mean, you just didn't do you didn't put the work in and do it. Well, I appreciate you all, Marc. I appreciate you. Everybody, have an awesome day.